All right, this is the episode about hostile work environment. It's all up in the news today, so I wanted to make sure that I brought it to your attention. Another type of bullying is creating a hostile work environment. If you looked at the news or received any kind of news today, you may have heard about the New York City mayor. Last name is Adams, and he has been plagued with scandals, and someone is charged him with several other things, but I'm going to take them one at a time. I'm taking hostile work environment as one of the things. Remember, I told you about uh, these things that happen on the job are illegal. Well, they say they're not illegal, but they're not lawful. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. They're not lawful. But anyway, you can file a complaint. Now, I don't know how the complaint was filed. Uh, except for the fact that with the sexual harassment charges and et cetera, in it, I'm going to give it a good guess that it was the EEOC. It's a developing story, so I wasn't able to find out much information before coming on, but I want to make sure that you know about this hostile work environment. People don't realize how much all of this that I'm talking about really negatively impacts your health. It impacts your wellness, not just a physical illness, but also emotional, which can lead to a mental breakdown if you're harassed all of the time and you don't get any relief. So that's what I want to make sure that you know about dealing with this kind of problem where you're having some type of harassment. One of the things that they mentioned when I did my research on this is that you have to use your employee manual. I mentioned that in the last episode, that you need to use your employee manual before you go to the EEOC or any of the other agencies. Now, you can go to them at the same time. There's nothing that precludes you from going there. I'm not a lawyer, but once you go to the human resources and they don't do anything about it, I always say document, 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 document. Get your stuff written up. When you go in to see them, already have your EEOC complaint typed up because you don't know what you're going to be met with. I have had the personal experience of going to HR to let them know about what's going on. And then they write a note to the boss and say, and if she comes up with any kind of complaint, we will. So human resources was not on my team, they were on management's team. So understand that you have to do it. You have to go let them know. You need to document them too, because they're not necessarily your friend. I'm not talking about every one of the human resources people, but you never know. These folks might be trying to get a position inside the organization outside of human resources. So, of course, this is the way inside politics work. But if you are being harassed on the job, I've always said this, make sure you have your money right. You got to have that 3 months set aside, pay your bills up if you can, because if you're from North Carolina, they can let you go without any kind of explanation. Now, they have an employee manual and they have different steps they have to go through. Then they have created new rules for themselves. But just normally speaking, they can let you go without an explanation. But if they have a manual, like for instance, the way it was when I was on the job, they can give you a verbal warning, which still would be written because they would write down that they gave you a verbal warning. So really it was a written warning that said it was a verbal warning. And you had the opportunity to sign it or to write on there, I'm signing this under duress. Oh, yes. Yes, you got to document these things. If someone has falsely accused you of something, if you just sign it, you going along with it, you agreeing to it if you don't put something on there other than your signature. So make sure you understand that part as well, that you have to document. If they ask you to sign a document, if you feel like signing it, one thing that people who are in a union that they have told me is they have been told, don't sign anything but your paycheck. But if you feel compelled to sign it, you should put something on there. I am signing this under duress. That's important. I'm under stress. I feel like I don't have any other choice. That's what that means if you don't know what it means. I feel like I don't have any other choice. But you know, it's a nice, cute little short word. But you can put, I feel like I don't have any choice. I don't agree with this. You can write down whatever you want to do, whatever you want to write on there that gives a record about it. And then, you know, get a copy of it. Everything goes in your file. You should have a copy of it. So I'm guessing this is a young lady that has filed these charges against the New York City mayor. Of course, he's saying he does not recall. Well, I don't know if he's saying it, but a spokesperson is saying that the mayor does not recall ever meeting this person before. And, you know, that's possible. And he could be completely innocent of these allegations. But I'm just using that as an example. I have the link in the description below. So a hostile work environment comes from a situation where you're being put on the spot, I'll say, and they even throw in there that it could be because of, you know, your gender or your race. Let me say this. A lot of times it's your age too, that I've noticed recently. You know, the baby boomers are getting older, they're getting closer to retirement. The longer that you're on a job, the more money that you make. And you may not be in your 60s, but you're old enough where you have been working in a job for a while. So now you're getting some of the top pay. And that's when sometimes they start putting that pressure on you, trying to make like you've done things that you haven't done. And they harass you to try to get you to leave. And I've known some people who have left because they did not want to uh, get into a physical altercation. Their buttons were really being pushed. And so they went out on early retirement or whatever they want to call it, just to have some peace in their lives. But on the way out that door, you got 6 months to file that complaint. And some people say, oh, it's not worth it. Well, perhaps it's not worth it. But to some people, it might be worth it. And you just need to know what your rights are. And you need to document, document, document. And so when they're harassing you and bring you in, that's called a hostile work environment. That's illegal. I'm changed saying it's illegal because they're saying it's unlawful. That is unlawful. And it could be because, let's say you were injured on the job and they're harassing you because they're trying to make it so that you quit. I'll give you a good example of someone who had been injured on the job. They went out, they had surgery on their leg. And when they got back to work, instead of them having a automatic vehicle to drive, they gave them a straight drive, which means that they had to use that leg over and over again to change gears. And that person, I think they quit that day because they were in so much pain. That's creating a hostile work environment. If you know someone has been injured and when they come back to work, the truck they normally drive is not the one that you give them a straight drive. Of course, on the other hand, the other person should have immediately filed a complaint and said, I have to go out, contact their doctor and got their doctor's note. You don't have to do certain things. Maybe they'll make you think you have to, but don't go out there and injure yourself for these jobs because guess what? You're the one that's going to have to deal with the pain and the suffering and the loss of hours at work unless they're going to pay you. That's an on-the-job injury. Perhaps they will pay you. It all depends. Now, eventually, I'm going to tell you about this insurance that you can get if you're in a certain industry. I'm trying to wait till I can get the person that I know who's involved in this insurance. But there are jobs where you can get insurance so that when you're out, let's say you get fired, you have a year's worth of money through this insurance. And that's really exciting to me because when I found out about it back in 2012, I was like, woo, man, when I was working, if I had had one of these jobs and that insurance, woo, it would have been a great time on the job. But the bottom line is this, is that you do not have to work in a hostile work environment. You don't have to work and injure yourself. You can file a complaint. You can get a hold of your doctor. And that's what you pay for health insurance, right? And even if you don't pay for health insurance, you have to go to the doctor to get things documented. If you're under some emotional distress because the boss is picking on you every day, I know guys who said that they were being brought into the office every day, not because of anything they had done wrong, but just somebody trying to just bully them. I can't believe you don't have anything in your record. I know I keep bringing that up, but that's just so shocking to me that someone would do that to to a worker. I mean, in this violent time that we live in, where people have guns everywhere, for you to think that you're immune to upsetting people to the degree that they might just go off, you're just really taking a chance. But they bring that person in every day, and that was creating a hostile work environment. Everybody was affected at this workplace. Everybody was negatively impacted. And I mentioned before, the shop steward waited until it was a personal thing for him, when this could have been nipped in the bud much earlier. But the bottom line is this, is that people allowed this man to harass people in the workplace, and he did it every day. He would call the same people in over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, they could have nipped that in the bud a long time ago. And as a matter of fact, the company could have gotten into trouble, not just him personally, but when they finally did contact whomever, it could have been human resources, most likely. There were enough people who wrote letters. And that's the other thing they have to say. Don't put a target on your back necessarily. Now, I know this sounds contradictory, but if you feel compelled because this man or woman is focusing on you and you need them off your back, you got to take some action, or you have to quit, because the violent way is not the way to go. And I mean, even if you do harm to yourself, that's still violence, because you just can't take it anymore. I've heard of people doing these things, and the saying, it's just not that serious, but it's serious when you're in the moment. But look at all the different options that you have out here. You can contact the EEOC, even though we know that some of these agencies and some of these agents don't do what they're supposed to do. That's why I say you have to use more than one agency. You have to learn what these different agencies do, what their jurisdiction, that's what they call it. What is their jurisdiction? If you've been harassed on the job, sexually harassed on the job, you wouldn't file a complaint with the EPA, because that's not in their jurisdiction. You would have to file a complaint with the EEOC. If you're being retaliated against, you can file with the EEOC, but you can also file with the U.S. Department of Labor, from what I understand. But definitely with the EEOC, if you file a complaint and then they retaliate. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm giving you all this great information, but the most important part is that you have to have your money right. You have got to cut back on spending, and you have to put that 3 months to the side and pay your bills up. That's going to be your most important step, because when you file these complaints, they are going to harass you. More than likely. At least they did when I did. And you have to be able to stand up to that. They will make like you did things you didn't do. Oh, yes, they will. So you have to stay in the driver's seat by documenting and putting your money to the side, sharpening up your skills. Always keep that resume sharp, and always be applying for better jobs. Well, this episode has been about the hostile work environment. I hope I got that across to you. And let's keep looking. I'm going to put in the links below about the EEOC, as well as this article from CNN, I think it's CNN, that is keeping up with what's going on in New York City, with the New York City mayor being accused of all these different things. Thank you for listening. This is Anita Foust. And also, I keep forgetting to mention, please, if this is helping you in any way, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, give me a like, and continue to listen, and also make comments. This is Anita. Check me out at anitafoust.com. Thank you for listening.